All right. Hello, everyone. This is Edan from Kinetic Body Therapy, and I'm here with the lovely Alyssa Cohen, and we are here to have a conversation, a brief conversation, about chronic pain and dis-ease. Okay. So Alyssa, such as just like myself, supports her clients in healing, and we both have a lot of experience in this field, working with supporting others in healing. And so we want to chat a little bit, like a beginner's like dive into the possibilities of healing your pain or dis-ease, and have a little bit of an understanding, a better understanding of like what it's like to heal from a different perspective than the traditional Western medicine model that we all know, right? Can you help me out here, Alyssa?
Definitely. I definitely can. So it seems like when people are struggling with a very deep and long-term relationship, we'll call it, with pain or dis-ease. I love your word dis-ease because I think of diseases in general as a lack of ease. And I approach them as trying to discover, how this lack of ease has arisen
Yeah.
in the body mind.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
It's getting jarbled in some fashion. Anyway, let's begin. So we're trying to help people, anyone that is suffering in chronic pain, and trying to give you a different perspective on how you might think about what ails you. So for most of you, it's logical. The first step, you go to the doctor and you try and ask the doctor, why is my body hurting? And for so many people, there are not obvious answers. So we want to talk to you about a different way of moving through what might be ailing you and a different perspective. Once you've gone to all the doctors and determined that there isn't anything that needs immediate care, or there aren't any obvious solutions, which is often the case, then people find their way to people like us who are trying to help you look within yourself to access what you may be holding in your body that is constricting you and giving rise over this time to the condition you find yourself in.
Absolutely. And I think, this is a really important topic. So those of you who are listening, unfortunately, there's not a lot of education about this particular topic out there, and or conversation. And I think a good place to start is that pain is simply a message from our body. It's a messenger. And so most of us are always trying to kill the messenger, right? We're trying to erase our pain. We're trying to heal our pain. And let's talk about that a little bit. Let's unpack that a bit. I mean, of course, most of us look at pain as a negative thing. And when you're suffering from pain, if there's anybody who understands this, it's me, because I'm a cluster headache sufferer from past, where I've been through some of the most tremendous levels of pain that a human can experience according to science, and so I've been to the ER sitting with morphine drips and still in pain, and the morphine wasn't good enough to help me with my pain. So I know deeply about what it's like to be in pain. In those moments, I was never thinking this was a positive thing.
Right? No, you wouldn't be. You were just trying to survive in those moments.
Exactly. And so those of you who are in chronic pain or suffering in pain right now, maybe not at that level, but really up there in the levels of like, a 7 to a 10 on a pain scale, right? We invite you to just think about this a little bit different and see if you can shift your perspective a little, right? So Alyssa, how would you say is a good way to start with that? Like, what would you recommend for someone like that who is really suffering right now and who's new to this understanding of, oh, pain is a message from my body or spirit, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think before I even get to that, I want to just acknowledge, like, when you were in that intense pain, you did get yourself to the hospital to try and seek some relief. So if you're in a 7 to 10, just want to begin the conversation by saying we need relief in some fashion. And so if you find yourself needing relief, please don't think that there's any judgment. You know, we have to get through our days.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, we can work at really understanding what is the message of this pain. And so when you take time to understand the message, that's like, I was talking to someone yesterday, you know, we wish that pain could send an email, you know, or a text, then we would get it. But
Yeah.
actually pain does talk, and learning to listen that's a big part of my work, teaching people how to listen to pain and understand through the subtlety of sensing in the body. What is the pain telling? What is the pain telling you? And I remember, actually, this is over 20 years ago, I had this incredibly intense problem with my shoulder. And I remember being on a body worker's table, and she was telling me to talk to my shoulder. And I looked at her like she was absolutely mad. Now, at that time, I could not understand how anyone could talk to their shoulder. And, you know, it didn't seem possible. And it wasn't possible for me at that time because I hadn't learned the language of listening. And so if you're starting, the first step is to just consider that pain is trying to talk to you. So even if you're not yet at the point of being able to understand its language, just simply acknowledging that might be happening, that's the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's all do that right now. Like if we are in pain or going through chronic pain for many months, for instance, let's all just take this moment to just go inside for a moment and just check in with ourselves and shift the conversation a little bit and see if we can just ask ourselves, you know, what is the message? And just begin this process of listening. This is key. It's a key to healing, and it's a key healing principle that I share and that I teach, and so does Alyssa, right? And this is what we share with our clients regularly on the daily, is how can we begin this process of listening, a deep listening. And when we listen to our body and maybe our spirit, we begin this healing journey and this process in a way that we're able to heal. I think we're much better off, and we're way more likely to heal when we start to listen. Because I almost look like it's funny how this is like something little that comes up for me often is like, I feel like the body is almost like our inner child yelling.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's not almost. It is.
It is. But I bring this up as an example. I'm like, oh, if your body is like your inner child, and he or she is yelling for attention, are you giving the attention, or are you trying to again erase the pain and stop the yelling and screaming? And also, were you listening to the whispers in the beginning, which were happening for months perhaps until you started having this yelling, right? And the whispers are like these little micro symptoms, little imbalances and disharmonies. I just always keep coming back to like, oh, this is just a disharmony, right? And there's something, it's an energetic, emotional, mental, emotional, spiritual disharmony in this organism, in this system, in all these systems of ours, right? Which are essentially just aspects of ourself, right?
For sure. So the first step, if you haven't been listening, is to meet yourself with compassion, because we're all doing the very best that we can. So even before we're able to listen, it's like the first step. And just as Edan said, just closing your eyes and breathing. And before you can even feel what it is that is needed. And so I can add that in, is if your eyes are closed and you're breathing and you find yourself in whatever pain you're in, the first step is just for a few moments. I know it's intense, but cultivate a breathing into, a being with what is, and allowing it to be that way. Not because you're accepting it and not because you're not going to seek care, but because when we're in pain, and I personally know this very much from experience too, I think that's how we get into this work. We have to heal ourselves, and that's why we're good at it, because we've been there. You know, when we're in pain, all we want is to get out of the pain. And it's so hard to believe that the way out of it is actually to be with it. And you can't do that all the time, because if your pain is really intense, you're going to have to distract yourself to function. But if at some points of every day you really come into just sitting, breathing, and affirming to yourself, my body mind is doing the best it can. And it is doing the best it can, given the life that you've lived. Because if you find yourself in pain, there's no doubt that through your life there have been difficult times. And we adapt as well as we are able with the resources that we have. And I know Edan and I had to go learn other resources because the resources that we had were not enough to heal from our pain. And so it's coming to a point of realizing the journey of healing, it's inside of us. We can go and check, as we should, to make sure there's nothing really sinister going on. And then we need to turn our awareness into being with our own unmet needs. And it sounds theoretical and hard to imagine. And it just simply begins by shifting your awareness to, wow, I feel horrible, and finding a way to make that be okay. Because it actually is the way it is. So we have to love ourselves through it.
Yeah, and I think, it's a natural process of being human, of being in this human body and as this human organism, this brilliant, intelligent, being of light that we are. I don't want to go into too much of new agey words, right? Like not get caught up on like words of like even just say we are light, we are, but we are. I mean, we're vibration. I mean, science, this is scientific, right? Is that we are energy, right? And this can be scientifically proven. So it's sort of, what I feel pain and illness and dis-ease is kind of like a dimming in that vital force, that light, that energy that we have. And so when we have certain perspectives or mindsets, or personality types, right? That's a whole another topic we can unpack another time, is like, these ways of being and showing up in this body mind are either going to support our healing or harm our healing or inhibit it, right? And so, what we're here to do is just begin this conversation of like, how can you support your healing, right? And how can you raise that vibration, right? Or the energy or the light or the vital force so that you can heal. And essentially that's what a lot of other modalities like acupuncture even is just like getting the chi flowing, right? Getting the energy flowing through the body to allow our body mind to heal itself, because our body and mind can heal itself. This organism is so smart and wise that and intelligent that it can heal itself. So when you're stuck in a state of dis-ease, it's just the body simply, the organism simply is stuck and it can't heal itself and needs some support. So how can we support this being of ourself to heal itself? And I think that's the thing, is like most doctors in traditional Western medicine are looking to treat symptoms, to fix, to create a change that is going to I guess you could say usually it's about masking symptoms and healing the pain instead of treating the cause, right? So most of the time they're treating symptoms. A lot of practitioners, some of them not just Western, could be even some Eastern. I'm sure there's some people they get caught up in like, how can I just treat the symptom instead of treating the cure? The root cause, right? Healing the cause and treating the cause. And so that's really important, is like, how can we treat, like asking ourselves regularly when we're suffering in this state of dis-ease, am I treating the cause? Are the people who are supporting me, the team, I hope you have a team of people supporting you, is your team, and are you focusing on how can I treat the cause rather than just treating symptoms? And that's a whole nother topic we can unpack, right? But let's focus, let's see, I'm getting a little bit, I'm digressing a little bit. So bring me back, Alyssa.
Okay, I'll bring you back. I'm going to bring you back to, you made such a beautiful point about in disease, there's low vitality. And so let's understand why that is. So it doesn't mean that you are not vital or that you can't get all your vitality back. It means that right now your system is compromised and the load on your body mind, I like how you call it organism, I call it body mind, is too high relative to what you can cope with. And that's not necessarily the load today. It's the load from your whole life. So if we go back to a model of understanding, how does this happen? You know, how does it come to be that people have fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue or cluster headaches or chronic migraines, chronic anxiety, chronic depression? Like, how do these things actually happen? And I want to talk about the idea that people think disease happens to them. Like it's like something you can catch, or it's bad luck, or it's genetics. And my view is different. My view is that we have needs and we have stressors. And so those stressors, they can include genetics and environment. They can also include hunger and bad housing and stressed parents and all kinds of, you know, marital problems in parents, all kinds of stressors that children have as we go through life. And we have lots of emotional needs, and for many of us, those aren't fully met. So as we evolve through our life, through the good times and the bad times, whenever there are stressors, as Edan said, the body mind is so intelligent. It will adapt in the very best way possible. So believe it or not, the symptoms you have are your body's best attempt given the load that you're carrying. And as we move on through life, one adaptation goes on top of the next. And over time, that creates a symptom. Over time, that creates a complex of symptoms. And over time, we name that complex of symptoms with a particular disease name. And it isn't that it isn't true. It's that it's only one narrow view on what's happening to you. And I know Edan has things to say about, you know, getting beyond your diagnosis, getting beyond identifying with the name that you've been given. Again, it's not that it isn't true. It accurately represents some aspect of what you're going through in your life, but it doesn't lead you to healing it. It leads you to identifying that this is something that's wrong with you. And our message is that kind of thinking is not supportive of deep healing.
Exactly. Because we can get caught up in that diagnosis and those words that are instilling fear, more fear in our body mind, which is this rather than love, rather than ease, right? There's fear. Mm-hmm. And this fear is not going to support our healing. And so what I encourage you to do or try is to, you know, only use those words or that diagnosis, the C word, the D word, the whatever, the F word, right? I like to not even, you know, say the word because unless you absolutely need to, because it is going to bring about some fear. And so having that diagnosis be used by the practitioners you're working with as a way for them to support you without you getting caught up in that, and knowing, because it's just a name for a set of symptoms and your symptom picture or your symptom complex, as Alyssa calls it. And knowing that, again, these symptoms are your body's way of trying to come back to balance and ease, trying to restore the balance and harmony within this organism. Right? And so when we understand that way, when we feel into it this way, and we're no longer associating with that. Like, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 21. Now, calling myself this, like saying, okay, I have bipolar, I am bipolar. And each time saying that was actually causing me more imbalance, more energetic disharmony, more discomfort, you know, on a spiritual level, where I felt crazy, right? And it's like, these words are codes. Our language is information that affects our DNA, right? Those of you who are new to this, look into the book called Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, where there's actually scientific proof that our language and our words affect our DNA, and the way that we feel and the mental states that we have are going to affect our health and healing, right? And our recovery. So super important to drop some of the language around it. And so maybe just only using it as needed and not associating and identifying with that label or that diagnosis too much, right? So it's not like I have bipolar, right? Yeah. The other day I met some guy in my workspace who told me I have bipolar, and he said it like with whispering, and I'm like, I wanted to correct him and be like, you don't have bipolar. You're exhibiting symptoms.
You're experiencing
Symptoms of imbalance, which look like a symptom picture of something that
matches.
Yeah, that psychiatry world labeled as bipolar disorder, which even makes it worse. Disorder, right? It's a disorder. It's a disease that I'm going to have the rest of my life. I can clearly prove, I'm proof of this, that a mental illness or any physical illness is usually temporary. It's not like you have this for the rest of your life. You're stuck with this and you can never change and you have to take meds the rest of your life. Maybe not, right? So I encourage you.
Some people do, but it depends, as you say. I love that you shared that personal story. It depends on, when people look at prognosis. So if you were 21 and diagnosed with bipolar at 21, if you had really stuck with the prognosis for healing from bipolar, you would have believed that you were going to have it for life, and you would have been on meds for your life.
Yeah.
So I always encourage people, don't look to the statistics for the prognosis of healing, because most people who are making up those statistics are not seeking the tools of radical healing. And these are things that anybody can learn. You don't need to be intuitive to start out. You don't have to have any specific background. You don't have to have any qualifications. You just have to have the willingness to look outside the box and to challenge, as Edan did, and as I did, to challenge what we were told. This is your life. And so if you are willing to, it's very scary. We got to acknowledge that. It's quite scary because it requires stepping into the unknown. And it really requires you stepping into responsibility for your health. And our system is not oriented to individuals being responsible. It's oriented to the doctors taking care of us. And so if we are responsible for ourselves and we really own that, then the people who help us are in service of our own inner knowing. It's a totally different orientation, and you can't make that shift just in one moment. It takes time, and we have to pass through the unknown to get there. And that's what inhibits people from believing in their healing, because you have to believe it's possible before you're going to know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that gap where you don't know, that's the unknown that makes people want to suppress their symptoms, because it's so hard to tolerate that level of unknown.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people just want to continue to just suppress their symptoms so they can get back to work or get back to life or get back to taking care of the kids or back to school or whatever it is that they're doing with their life. And so I get that, but I encourage all of you to take a moment and sit with it and realize, okay, there's something happening here that needs more attention right now, which is my health. And so how can I really shift away from I need to get over this and get better so I can get back to my life, and go into okay, this is a time for me for some deep inner reflection and listening and care for myself, because apparently until now I've been putting myself last, perhaps, maybe, right? That's usually what happened in my case when I had illness and disease in the past. And also I just want to bring up another thing is if you have a mental illness or mental dis-ease, I encourage you to, first off, make sure that you're working with a professional practitioner and that you're doing things carefully and cautiously. You're not getting off of any meds, without the support and supervision of a doctor, but also to not only look at your doctor or doctors as the people who know everything, and to be more empowered and educate yourself a lot about this set of symptoms and this symptom picture so that you can heal and you can become empowered. And so you're not just relying on the practitioner, any practitioner, whether it's a doctor or just a holistic healing practitioner such as ourselves, but instead you really take things into your own hands and you educate yourself as much as possible, do as much research as possible about what's going on with you, so that you can then choose to whether or not agree or disagree with the practitioners you're working with, and feel whether something really resonates with you, whether it supports you or not. Right? So don't just, like, a lot of people, like, I know I have some family members who are like, whatever the doctor says, I'm going to do. And I'm like,
I'm just laughing because some of my most difficult patients are those that go and research their condition. So I'm not 100%. I agree with that entirely.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, the sentiment is true. Is how do we empower ourselves? How do we empower ourselves to have our own sense of things? And yeah, I guess there's a little bit of a line which each of you will have to find in terms of which types of learning. Like biology of belief is not researching your condition, but it's researching a type of learning. Or Gabor Mate, I love, if you have any kind of pain, please read When the Body Says No by Gabor Mate. That is like the #1 book in my library for understanding how he's getting it on. Do you have it on your shelf?
Of course.
Oh, okay. I have a different copy.
Oh, really?
There must have been more than one release.
Maybe this is an old.
Yeah. You need.
Yeah. So Gabor Mate is amazing, guys, and I actually met him a few times and had conversations with him and seen him for like 3 different talks. And I gave him a little bit of body work. He loves it, and he promotes myofascial release and body therapy and the work that I do, which is exciting and great. So check him out for sure, along with Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief, which I have over here as well. And yeah, I mean, all these books are going to be supporting and your understanding of what we're speaking about here, because there's lots of other doctors and scientists who are speaking about this and proving with science and conversation about, like, what is the nature of dis-ease and pain. Right?
All right, let me summarize, because we've been talking in so many different ways. Yeah. We're encouraging you to question your disease, to explore beyond the boundaries of what you think is possible, to look beyond your prognosis, to make time to think of your symptoms as messengers, not that you ought not to get relief, but to take some time in self-acceptance, to accept where you are, to seek a broad range of support for yourself, in addition to your medical team, people that believe in your wholeness and believe that their job is to guide you back to wholeness. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I do, and then I hope that Edan can tell you a little bit about what he does, because we're all about building a team of people that can help you when you've been suffering with a chronic condition. There isn't one practitioner that's going to solve it for you. And that's something that I see so many people doing. Like, they think that they'll come to one person and, oh, I went to him, it didn't work. So then I went to her, it didn't work. We need a team. You've been sick for 10 plus years. It's not one person, not one modality that's going to help you. It's a mix of different people offering different facets. My practice right now is really focused on an intensive course that teaches people how to heal, teaching you the embodied skills that you need to navigate this process for yourself, and to understand deeper than this conversation about how disease forms and what you can do, and to build a team that supports you and learn how to receive that support and learn how to evolve. And Edan, tell us what your component is, so that everybody knows about all the gift of your body work, which is really very special body work. It's not normal massage work.
Yes. So I don't do massage. So it's kinetic body therapy. And so body therapy is a different genre than physical therapy, massage therapy, or occupational therapy, or chiropractic, or acupuncture, right? There's all these different genres. So body therapy is a separate genre that I have, am part of, and there's not a lot of body therapists out there, unfortunately. But with body therapy, we work with the body to heal the problems of the mind. But I also work with structural alignment body work as well, because I'm trained in osteopathic-based manual therapy techniques. Manual therapy is just hands-on therapy. And most of the work that I do is hands-on in person, but I also offer virtual sessions for those of you who are not in New York or Miami, because I do go to Miami every other month or two to see clients there. And then I do LA once every 6 months, Israel every 6 months as well. So I'm at all these different locations. However, I do virtual work one-on-one through Zoom sessions, which is how we're recording this right now, and guiding you through using other tools than manual therapy. There's touch, which is hands-on work that you can do yourself. There's breath work and breath, and then there's meditation, there's visualization, there's movement. So all these are different types of medicine that I will share with you in sessions, for instance, where we can work one-on-one to support your healing. And yeah, that's what I do, is just share healing with people such as yourselves watching this all over the world through virtual sessions or in person. I do have people that come travel to see me in New York, for instance, who have some sort of dis-ease or chronic pain issue like fibromyalgia, where we do like an immersive full week experience together of diving deep to support your healing by really releasing emotions, by releasing the fascial restrictions and tension and pressure in the body, working with the fascia, which is the connective tissues, which is this fabric of our being. And then also, along with that, some structural alignment work like an osteopath would do with bones, joints, fluids, organs, doing some visceral manipulation work. And energy, right? Working with energy work. But energy work that I do is very physical, very somatic based, very hands-on in the body. It's not like energy work like Reiki or anything like that, hands off. This is different, more embodied energy work, if you will. So you have amazing practitioners out there, such as myself or Alyssa, that you can work with together on your team. We encourage you, Alyssa and I both encourage you to find a team. It could be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people, whatever you can, work with in terms of your budget, in terms of, time, that. But find a way to have a mastermind group of practitioners who are working together, hopefully, who can work together to support the same goal or intention or mission of like getting you back to balance, right? To energetic harmony, balance. And I think that that's the way to heal chronic pain, is to really take a deep dive and do an immersive experience of healing with having a team and a mastermind. I think that's one of the secrets to healing chronic pain. Instead of just being stuck in chronic pain, going to one person, listening to that person, going to that person, and having this disconnect. I think one of the keys to really healing is to see if you can form a team of practitioners who can all work together to achieve the same goal of getting you to come back to wholeness, right? A holistic approach.
I know we're almost out of time, but I also add to that is when you're choosing practitioners, choose people that want to teach you how to work with yourself.
Yes.
So that you are not dependent on us, that we are the guides that are bringing you to, empowering you to help yourself.
Exactly. So find people who are empowering you rather than having you rely on them to heal you. All the healing, remember, comes from within, as we mentioned earlier. The healing comes from within you. The healing comes from yourself, from this brilliant intelligence of this body, mind, as we mentioned. And so how can we access that? That's the question. How can we access our natural, intuitive, innate healing capabilities and capacities so that we can heal? Because it is shitty to be in pain. It's shitty. No. And so we want you to heal, right? We do want you to heal. But also, I'll add one more thing. Patience, my friends. Patience, right? How can we find the patience to heal in the time that it will take? Because we usually, with our mind and thoughts and we usually want to heal way faster than nature intends for that to happen. So
all right. Well,
process.
Thanks for the chat so much, and
sure.
Comment if you have questions. Ask us questions. We'll do our best to answer you.
Yes, please leave a comment below in this video, and please check out Alyssa Cohen, what she's doing as well, and reach out to her if you need any support, and reach out to me if you need any support as well. But please leave a question or comment below. And if you're going to comment, just tell us if this served you, if this helped you in any way, shape, or form. So if it does, then we're going to hopefully make more videos like this with more education for you. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate your time. Time is an invaluable resource. We know this. So thank you for hanging in there for this entire video. All the best. Happy healing.
Take care.
And take care.